if the person is entrepreneurial and they ask me this question, I always tell them, you've got to take care of your kids, you got to pay the bills. And I said, but tell me when you work. And they tell me, well, I work, 9 to 5 or 8 to 5 and I'm exhausted, everything else. I said, well, what are you doing with the other 8 hours? Because that's what I did. I worked as a janitor all night long, middle of the night, everything else. I could compress time there because it was based on results, not time. So if I could do a great job in shorter time, I had that time. But then, what I start doing between, 7 o'clock at night and 2 in the morning, which is pretty much the time I worked, that's when I was developing myself, getting the skills, learning, educating, starting the business. So I think people just have to realize it's a gut-wrenching process. Entrepreneurship is not for everybody. Most people fail in entrepreneurship. The vast majority fail. 96% in 10 years, but what happens after 10 years? All clear sailing after that? Anybody remember Lehman Brothers? They were around a century. They had gross revenues over a century of more than $1 trillion with a T dollars. That's what went through their bank accounts over that century, and they're gone. So I don't think it's right for everybody. I think you have to really be clear, is your personality the right personality if you're going to begin in this area? And then if you're going to work for somebody else, you can still become financially free, but that means you got to stop being a consumer and become an owner under entrepreneurs. You want to own businesses, right? Get out of just being, don't just own an iPhone, own the company, but not just Apple, obviously. But
how do you keep your energy up and your enthusiasm up? How do you do it?
I'm wired for it. It's my nature to some extent, but also the other part is I get to see results. I mean, who here has been touched by my work before? I'm curious. Anybody in this room? So look around the room, and how's it hard to be inspired when I'm in a room and a third or 40% or 50% have used my work? And so people come up to me every day, dozens of people a day if I'm traveling, and they tell me the most amazing stories. Outside my children and my wife, that's probably the greatest gift of my life. I never get tired of hearing it, and it just makes me want to deliver more, give more, have more impact.
You get the last word. Tell them what you want them to know.
Well, if you're entrepreneurs out there, here's what I'd say to you. I'd say, don't be so damn hard on yourself. I know that sounds counter to being an achiever, but when you're beating yourself up, you're sucking out the energy you need to move forward. It's kind of like, I always tell people there's so much energy, and I've built mine. I do a lot of things to build my energy to be incredibly strong and have really strong endurance, because to me, energy is life. If you don't have strong energy, you're not gonna do anything. But even after we look at that energy, it only goes so many places. So if your energy is being caught up, if you take energy in a business and you pour it into external marketing, going out and reaching people and adding value, that business is gonna grow. But if there are inner conflicts in that business between people, then the energy is being sucked in here and less energy is going out there, the business is gonna have problems. That's also true of you. If you allow your disappointments to create these inner conflicts and fears and you let them run wild within you, they're gonna suck the energy out you need to go to the next level in your business. You have to discipline your disappointment now. Mine is the 90-second rule. So watch this, try something real fast. Look around this room, I'm gonna give you a test. Look around this room and see everything that's brown. I'm gonna test you in a moment. Look behind you, look around you, look at clothing, look at people, look anything that's brown. Brown, 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 record it in your mind. Close your eyes. Now, with your eyes closed, tell me everything you saw just now that was red. If you see more brown than red, say aye. Open your eyes, look for red now. Really look for red. Look for it anywhere you can find it. Look around you, look beside you, look at the front, the back. How many found more red this time? Raise your hand if you did, say aye. Why'd you find more red this time?
Because you told me to.
Seek and ye shall find. But here's what's amazing. Seek and you shall find even if it's not there. I'll prove it to you. How many saw beige shit, called it brown just to feel successful? How many saw burgundy, called it red just so you can count more pieces? So if you think you're a jerk or someone else is a jerk, you're gonna color it, you're gonna change it, you're gonna find the jerkiness in them, you're gonna find the jerk in you. It's really important that you manage your mental and emotional state because you are the business. If you are the leader, your responsibility, your job, your opportunity, your privilege is to be able to truly lead. And you cannot lead if you're living in fear. You cannot lead in a place of constant uncertainty. We all have uncertainty at times. But if you watch an athlete go out to shoot a free throw or a kicker in the NFL to go kick the ball, how many ever seen that person, they're about to kick it, they're about to shoot it, and you go, they're gonna miss it, and you know they're gonna miss it. Who's experienced this before? How did you know? You could see in their body that they're missing the core ingredient, absolute certainty. You can have the great skills in the world, but when you lose that certainty, the athlete goes down. That's usually when I get the call. I gotta rewire them and get them back where they can execute at that level. So be kind to yourself, as corny as that sounds, not to be kind to yourself, but so there's more energy available to solve the problems and to build the business and to meet your mission. Because the time you're beating yourself up, you're trying to prove to yourself you really care, but meanwhile what you're doing is sucking the energy out of your growth. I had somebody who embezzled some money when I was a tiny company. Like one of the companies was $3 million. And the guy embezzled $250,000, and I was $758,000 in debt and thought I was in profit. And in those days, everybody told me I'd have to go bankrupt. And I remember I was just like so angry. There's so much anger because my business was like my child. This guy tried to kill my child, So I was chasing him into Mexico so I could beat the hell out of him and put him in prison. And then I realized in the middle of this stuff, I gotta let go of this because while I'm busy being angry and pissed off, the business is gonna go under. I'm chasing birds. What am I do when I catch the bird? I gotta focus on how to add the value. And so take your energy, that's all you have in this life, and invest it in the things you love.
So you've got to handle the negative. Here's what part of it is. It's called the Great War Between Good and Evil. Mr. Reynolds and I are working on a new book this year called The Great War Between Good and Evil. And there is a war on. The minute you were born, you got involved in the war between good and evil, between darkness and light, between negative and positive, between evil and good, between tyranny and democracy, between weeds and human activity. I mean, the war is on. If democracy sleeps, guess who never sleeps? Tyranny. In the absence of light, guess what's automatic? Darkness. If good does not arouse itself and become active, guess what moves in? Evil. It's a war. A mental war, a physical war, a financial war, between enterprise and ease, between accomplishment and failure. It's a war. That's why there's an Old Testament phrase that gives the best advice for human activity when it says, 6 days labor, 1 day rest. Now, I'm sure we've taken that to mean, don't work all 7 days, take one off. Here's what it also means, only take one off. Or you're liable to lose the war. Now, we've got it down to 5 and 2, and maybe that's not too dangerous. I don't know. If God would have thought of 5 and 2, he might have made it 5 and 2. I don't know. You can't think of everything. But here's what it does mean. Enterprise is better than ease. If you rest too long, the jungle overtakes the village. Now, here's the good news about the war between good and evil. Evil is no match for good, but good must be active. Weeds are no match for human activity, but if you stand still, how far in will they come? All the way. They'll grow right up around your shoes. But if you get busy, how far back can you take them? As far as you wish. They're no match, but you must be active. That's why the 6 and 1. Make sure you're not losing the war by taking off too much. Guess what the average years are after retirement? 6. 6. Which means don't retire. Your chances are too slim. Okay. The war between good and evil, the weeds. You got to make sure you recognize the negative, handle it, deal with it, and then go on. Let's make a list of the diseases of attitude that can wreck all your chances to do well. One of the words that destroys everything is called neglect. Neglect. And I found this out. A week of neglect could cost you a year of repair. It isn't worth it. So what to be on the lookout for? Here's the list. If you were making it, you'd have the same list I've got. Right? We're not covering anything new tonight. This is a reminding session, not a teaching session. But it doesn't hurt to go over it again. Here's the list. Attitude diseases. Number 1 is indifference. The shrug of the shoulder. The guy's not even concerned. He's just drifting. This is called the mild approach to life. A disease known as mildness. The guy says, well, I can't see getting all that worked up. Well, to be any kind of winner, you gotta get worked up. There's one problem with drift. You cannot drift to the top of the mountain. And the good Lord said in the closing chapters of the Bible, here's the best way to live, one way or the other. That's best. Hot or what's next best? Cold is next best to hot. Not the half-baked middle, lukewarm, not too hot, not too cold. What a sad way to live. I think what it means is pick a direction and go with everything you got. Just pick one and go. Somebody says, yeah, but what if it's the wrong direction? You'll find out quicker. It won't take you 25 years to wake up and say, oh no, I've been walking the wrong road. I told my staff the other day, next best to prosperity is adversity. If one doesn't get you, pray for the other. We all do better from one of two reasons, inspiration or desperation. And I don't wish anything bad on you tonight, but if you're not inspired, I hope a wagon comes down your rut. Whatever it takes to get you to try harder, read more, set your goals, and go for it. Somebody asked me one time, what quality would I pick if I wanted to work with somebody? And you know what I picked first? Number one, strong feeling. Please, number one, give me somebody that feels strong about most anything. I don't even care, just so they believe it. Even if they disagree with me. Wonderful. Just so they disagree vigorously. I'm not saying it's easy to win those kind of people to your point of view, but I'd rather do that than to try to resurrect people from the dead. Pump them up every month. Pump them up, pump them up. I pass.